A presidential handshake, a seat of honor at a ceremony. In the coded language of international diplomacy, these are rarely just gestures. They are statements. When President Hakainde Hichilema chose to personally attend the inauguration in Tanzania, an election disputed by the very regional body Zambia belongs to, he made a profound statement. But what exactly was the statement saying, in my opinion? In my analysis, this decision sits at a complicated situation. A crossroad between honoring a vital historic ally and implicitly endorsing a democratic process that even SADC has questioned. To understand the move, you must first understand the bond. The Zambia-Tanzania relationship was forged in the furnace of liberation struggles. When Rhodesia's UDI threatened to strangle Zambia, it was Julius Nyerere in Dar es Salaam who provided a lifeline. The Tazara Railway stands as a steel monument to this Pan-African brotherhood. But this isn't just about history. It's about our economic present today. The port of Dar es Salaam is a crucial artery for Zambian trade. A significant portion of our imports and exports, our copper, our fertilizer, our essential goods flow through that port. The health of our economy is directly tied to the smooth operation of that gateway. In my view, with Zambia's relationship across other borders often being hostile in recent times, President Samia is not just a friend, she's the guardian of a critical economic lifeline. But this is where my analysis identifies a significant tension. The Southern African Development Community, SADC, the regional body of which Zambia is a prominent member, noted significant shortcomings in that electoral process. The observers raised concerns about a lack of transparency. By standing on that diocese, President Hichilema wasn't just safeguarding a trade route, he was placing Zambia's stance outside the consensus of its own regional bloc. He lent Zambia's hard-earned democratic credibility to a process that its neighboring and the world had formerly questioned. This moves beyond economic pragmatism into a delicate dance of regional alignment. The critical question is, was this a necessary act of practical politics or a strategic miscalculation that isolates us from our SADC partners? My assessment leans towards the latter, because the full picture of what happened in Tanzania remains obscured. Following the pause, reports of unrest were met with a sophisticated information clampdown, an internet shutdown, restrictions on international media. But in my personal analysis, a deeper, more subtle factor was at play: the language barrier. The protests, the voices of dissent were largely voiced in Swahili. For a global audience and for a major English language news networks, this creates a limitation. The raw, emotional pleas are diluted, reduced to muted footage on social media without clear context. Imagine if those voices were speaking directly to the world in English. Would the international response, and perhaps even SADC's, have been more forceful? It's a troubling thought. It means the world and perhaps even our own decision makers were operating with an incomplete picture, even as SADC raised its own official concerns. Which makes the decision to send the head of state himself so consequential. Were there not other less risky paths to secure our port access while acknowledging SADC's position? A high-level delegation led by the Vice President or perhaps the Minister of Foreign Affairs, like the usual custom. A public congratulatory message that focused on continued bilateral cooperation, followed by a state visit later to discuss the port and bilateral trade. These options would have protected our economic interests without the president personally shaking Zambia's reputation on a disputed outcome and placing us at odds with regional allies. We have seen the risks of premature alignment in this administration before. Recall the diplomatic miscalculation when President Hichilema made remarks that were perceived as siding against Donald Trump during the Biden-Kamala Harris administration. This, however, is a far higher stakes situation that directly involves our regional standing. And the biggest risk, in my view, is still ahead of us beyond the Hichilema and Samia administration. What if the political grounds in Tanzania shift? What if domestic pressure amplified by SADC's own report, leads to fresh elections and a new leader emerges. How will that new government view Zambia? We would not be remembered as a steadfast brother, but as a nation that ignored regional concerns and endorsed the contested status quo. The personal rapport between President Hichilema and Samia would be irrelevant, and our crucial access to the port could be jeopardized, leaving Zambia to rebuild a vital economic relationship from a position of weakness and diplomatic isolation. So in my final analysis, the evidence presents a deep dilemma. A vital economic partner, an election disputed by our regional body, an obscured truth, and a presidential handshake that carried the weight of our history, our prosperity, and now our regional credibility. But the ultimate question is, in securing a port of trade today, has Zambia navigated into a diplomatic storm that could cost us our standing with SADC and the people of Tanzania tomorrow?